Hello guys, it's me again, teacher Yolanda. We are going to start with our session 2 via internet, and I hope you did your homework and all the things yesterday. If not, please catch up. Let's fetch again our students book, workbook, content areas notebook, and our art notebook. Please go and get them. Now let's open our students book at pages 90 and 91. Here we have our project for this unit. Let's start checking it. The title is Poetry. It says read the text below and find out about poetry. So let's do it. It says poetry has a long history. Thousands of years ago, when most people could not read or write, poets told stories about the adventures of men and women in the form of poems. Poetry is still popular today. And what's so great about it is that anyone can write it. Poems can be about people, objects, animals, the weather, and feelings. In fact, they can be about anything. Poems often rhyme, but they don't have to. Remember that we have different types of poems. Let's read the examples here. It says, the first example is by the American poet Jack Prelutsky. My mother makes me chicken. My mother makes me chicken, her chicken makes me cough. I wish that when she made it, she took the feathers off. Can you listen to it? It does rhyme. Now the second is this one. It says, the second poem is by Roger McGowan, an English poet. Fame. The best thing about being famous is when you walk down the street and people turn around to look at you and bump into things. What's the meaning of bump into? This is bump into. The man bumped into the sign because he was looking at the famous girl. Can you see there's a poster of her in the street? Now the last one. This one. The last example is by Charles Silverstein, who began writing when he was 12 years old. Wow, he was so young. Charles Silverstein also wrote plays and music for films. The title is Spaghetti. Spaghetti, spaghetti, all over the place, up to my elbows, up to my face, over the carpet and under the chairs, into the hammock and wound round the stairs, filling the bathtub and covering the desk, making the sofa a mad mushy mess. The party is ruined, I'm terribly worried. The guests have all left unless they're all buried. I told them, bring presents. I said, throw confetti. I guess they had wrong because they all threw spaghetti. And with some special effects by one of my cats. Sorry, guys. But well, this one also rhymes. So, what do you have to do for this project? Let's pay attention. Let's go to the next page in the workbook. Here we have our project. Can you see? It says project, write poetry. Read the examples of different kinds of poems. We have 3 different kinds of poems, and you're going to write 3 different kinds in your art notebook for the project. First, let's do this. Discussing groups. Do you ever read poetry? Do you know the names of poets in your country? Do you know any poems by heart? Look at this, by heart. What is that? By heart means memorized. Yes, in Spanish we say me lo sé de memoria, but in English they say me lo sé de corazón, meaning that it's truly something important. So, do you remember that when we were in the last week of classes, I asked you to bring 3 pieces of paper with different colors and 3 prints of things that you really liked? Well, they are for these poems. You have to write 3 poems, 1 of each kind. And the ones that we have here are the example. You have to first paste the colored paper on your art notebook, then paste your illustration that is inspiring you for that poem, and finally write these 3 types of poems. Let's see what each poem is about. It says, "The Story I'm Going to Write" by Jorge Girao, 11. There is a castle, there are dragons, there is a black knight, there is a queen, and there are lots of fights in the story I'm going to write. What do you have to do for writing this poem in your art notebook? You have to use this model. The model is to use there is and there are, depending if it's singular and plural. And finally, in the end, you're going to write in the story I'm going to write. It's pretty simple. If not, if you have problems and doubts, remember we still have a Zoom session to check it together. Now, this one is called Acrostic by Carlos Vallejo, 11. Pay attention. Carlos, that's his name. So that is an acrostic. You have to put the capital letters. Let's pay attention about what Carlos thinks of himself. Chicken loving, angry, sometimes, runs fast, lucky, one sister, super footballer. What do you have to do to write this poem in your art notebook? You have to choose a word. It could be a person, a place, a name, an animal, school, a subject. I recommend the name of the thing that you printed. Let's imagine that you printed something about dogs. So you have to put in capital letter DOGS, dogs. And on each of the letters, write something about dogs that you like. And here it says, write the first letters in a vertical line, then write a word or a phrase beginning with the first letter of each line. Try to describe the thing that you have chosen. Okay, so again, if we have doubts, we can check it by Zoom. Now, the next one is color poem. In color poem, you can choose either the piece of paper that you've just pasted or the color of the object or the colors of the object. I mean, if you want to add all of the colors, it's fine. This one is by Ana Romero, 12. White is the car that my mom drives. White are the flowers in our garden. White is the pen that I use. White is the board in our classroom. How are you going to do it? Well, you're going to choose a color, write about the things that are the same, and try to think of lots of different and interesting things. All of that is going to be in our art notebook, okay? Now, let's open the workbook in the same 2 pages. Now, at page 90 in the workbook, number 1 says, read the poems on page 90 in the student's book. Again, what poems are those? The ones that we have just read, the one of spaghetti, the one of fame, and the other one that was about my mother makes me chicken. Exactly the ones that are listed here. And you're going to read them and understand them, and you're going to write the answers to these questions. Let's read the questions. What does Jack's mother makes him? Chicken. I mean, it's in the title. My mother makes me chicken. Number 2, what does he think she should do? 3, why do people turn around in fame? Number 4, what happens to these people? Number 5, what's the problem with Shell's house? 6, what caused this problem? We're going to check these answers later in our Zoom session, so please answer this. This one is personal. It says, read the poems again and complete the table. What we have to do is check if it rhymes. You're going to put a check, the number of lines. It has to be a number. And if you think the poem is funny, let's do together the first one. My mother makes me chicken. My mother makes me chicken. Her chicken makes me cough. I wish that when she made it, she took the feathers off. That's what the poem says. So what are we going to do now? Well, does it rhyme? Yes, it clearly rhymes, so I'm going to place a tick. The number of lines. There are only 4 lines in this poem, and if I think it's funny, well, I think it is, so I'm going to tick it. For example, if you think that it was not funny, well, you may cross it, right? But for me, it was funny, so let's leave it like that. And you have to complete it with the rest. Now, this one we are going to check it now. It says Bear in There by Shel Silverstein. Do you remember him? He was the one of spaghetti. Now we have to put all of these words that are here into the text to make it rhyme and to make it have some coherence. Please pause the video and do it. We're going to check in a short while. Ready? Now, here I have our answers. Let's read together and please check that you have the correct answers. It says Bear in There by Shel Silverstein. There's a polar bear in our Frigidaire. He likes it 'cause it's cold in there. With his seat in the meat and his face in the fish and his big hairy paws in the buttery dish. He's nibbling the noodles, he's munching the rice. He's lapping the soda, he's licking the ice, and he lets out a roar if you open the door. And it gives me a scare to know he's in there. That polar bear in our Frigidaire. Can you see? It does rhyme, and it is actually also funny. Imagine having a polar bear in your fridge. That's the meaning of Frigidaire. Frigidaire is a brand of fridges, like they say, Daewoo, LG, Samsung, etc. So, as you can see, there was a bear inside the fridge of Shelf Silverstein. Now, moving on to page 91 of the workbook. In here, it says, write words that rhyme. We have bed, head, said, read. Can you see? All of these rhyme. So you have to write 3 words that rhyme with to, green, day, thin, and hat. And we're going to check them together later on to our Zoom conversation. Number 2 says, write a poem. Choose a topic or choose your own ideas. In here we have holidays, school, parties, a sport. We are going to complete this. It depends on you. Actually, this is free and it's individual. You can use these ideas or your own ones. Here we have an example, holidays. I see the beach, I feel the sun, I taste ice cream, I smell the sea, I hear children playing. So you can actually write your own answers here and it will be fine. The next exercise, it's a practice for your project. It says choose a kind of poem from page 91 in the student's book and write it. Draw a picture to go with it. You can write here your draft. What is your draft? Your draft is your borrador. That means something that you do before doing the real thing. So maybe you can write a draft before you put it on the colored piece of paper just to make sure. Remember to check your orthography, check your spelling, check your grammar, everything, and then you can do it in your art notebook. When we come back to school, I'm going to take pictures of all of your poems and we're going to read them to the class. I'm going to show them on the TV of the classroom. Okay? So remember, if you have any questions, we're going to see each other in a few minutes. Continuing with our projects, now we have this project. The title is Class Survey. Listen to the presentation on books and look at the bar chart. Find 2 differences. What does it mean? It means that this chart here has a mistake. Yes? So as it has a mistake, you have to correct it. We're going to listen to the exposition to an audio. And also with the same listening, you're going to match the sentence halves. You're going to listen again and check. It says, here are, let me explain, as you can see, a total of 9 students, thank you. And you have to match them with the others. Please, as usual, write the letter next to the number. Here, please help me. I'm going to show you where I want it. So it is quite evident and also that it is clear. Please write the letter next to the number, okay? So, wait a moment. Well, it's here, the letter next to the number, okay? In this space. I want the answers there. Okay, so let's listen to the audio.
Student's Book, page 92. 1. Listen to the presentation on books and look at the bar chart. Find 2 differences.
We asked 25 students how many books they read last year. Here are our results. Let me explain a few things. As you can see from the bar graph, all the students read at least one book last year. That's a good thing. A total of 9 students read 3 books. This was the highest number of students. The next highest result was for 2 books. 7 students read 2 books. Only 1 person read 1 book. The highest number of books read by a student was 8. 1 student read 8 books. No one read 4, 5, 6, or 7 books. Thank you for listening.
Okay, so that was the exposition. Did you find the differences? All the differences that you find, you have to draw it here. And remember, the answers here next to the numbers. Now, what are we going to do next? If we pay attention to these, we can see that we still have a project, yes? So what are we going to do with our project? In this part, it says, think about it. You're going to make an exposition about what? Well, clearly about questions that you're going to make. What kind of questions? Let's pay attention. Here it says, think about it. Who is your favorite writer? What's your favorite book? Is there a book you didn't like at all? What book are you reading at the moment? What was the last book you read? Where do you read? In your room, in the living room, somewhere outside? How many hours do you read in a week? How many books did you read last year? So you can ask these questions, but I am going to be nice with you and I'm going to let you ask any question that you want. And who are you going to ask those questions to? It could be the people who are in your house or via internet. You can ask your friends. You can ask as many people as you want. And you can ask any question that can be put into a bar graph. Remember, this is a pictograph. Why is it a pictograph or a pictogram? Because it is not a bar, it's books. And why did they decide to use books? Well, obviously because the question was about books. But if you make a question about video games, you can draw controls of PlayStations. Or if you're going to ask about cats, you can draw cats here, etc. What you have to do is to prepare it. It says choose 8 interviewers. Again, I know that we are locked in our home, so you can choose as many people as you want and as you can. Yes? And it says the interviewers walk around the class and ask everyone. You're going to walk around your house and ask the people. And you're going to present it. Yes? Let's read here the tips for presenters. Take your time to explain the bar chart. Make sure your classmates understand what each of the 2 lines mean. Write in big letters the number of students and the number of books. What is that? That is the axis. Pay attention. All of the bar graphs need to be understandable, even if the person wasn't there for the survey. What is the survey? La encuesta. So pay attention. First, we have to put the title of the bar graph. How many books did you read last year? That is the title because that was the question that was asked. Now, this in Spanish, you have seen that this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. You can put numbers, you can put letters, you can put many things there, but you have to make sure that people understand what they are about. For example, in this occasion, the y-axis represents the number of students. That is important. And the x-axis represents the number of books. You have to write everything so that people understand. Here we can see that 2 books were read by 8 students according to this. I know there are some mistakes here that you had to correct. If you need to listen again to the audio, remember to rewind the video a little bit. Now, in our content areas notebook, we're going to copy this. I'm going to explain them to you. In this one, it says, imagine you just did a survey of one of your friends to find which kind of movie they liked best. And here we have the results. the table is my favorite type of movie. 4 people voted for comedy, 5 voted for action, 6 for romance, 1 for drama, and 4 for sci-fi or science fiction. And it says we can show that on a bar graph like this. So these axes represent the people and these axes represent the genres. And the title is Favorite Type of Movie. It is a really good way to show relative sizes. We can see which types of movie are most liked and which are least liked at a glance. What is at a glance? Así de primera mirada, con mirar rápido. So that means that clearly this one is the tallest, so we can see that romance was the most popular. We can use bar graphs to show the relative sizes of many things, such as what type of car people have, how many customers a shop has on different days, and so on. So that's really a great idea to show data to people. Data or data, those are the 2 possible pronunciations. Moving on, it says we have an example. The example is nicest fruit. A survey of 145 people asked them which is the nicest fruit. And as we observe, here we have our results. All of these results after the survey, it's going to be put here in the bar graph. It says, and here is the bar graph. Again, the title, nicest fruit. This axis represents the number of people. And all of these are obviously types of fruit. Make it clear with different colors so no one can get confused. Just by looking at it, we can see that 35 people liked apple, while orange was liked by 30 people. Another important thing about this is how to choose the scale. The scale has to be according to your smallest and biggest number. So here there is no sense of putting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, it's not necessary. You can put ranges. That means maybe you can jump from a 5 to a 15. It depends on you. This is so free. And most importantly, it depends on your results. Again, always compare the smallest data and the biggest data to get your scale. Now let's continue reading. It says that group of people think blueberries are the nicest. Bar graphs can also be horizontal, like this. In here we can also see easily that blueberry was the most voted with 40 votes. So there is no need to make it vertical or horizontal. Both are fine. It depends on your creativity. In the question that you're going to ask and doing your art notebook, it's the same. You can decide whether you want your graph to be vertical or horizontal. Both are fine. Let's pay attention to this example now. This example says student grades. In a recent test, these many students got these grades. So, these are the grades of the students, and this is the bar graph. The title is Student Grades. We have a student A, a student B, a student C, a student D. No, pay attention. That's why it is always so important to read carefully. These are the students. That means that 0 students got this. But now we have 5, 10, and 15. Why? Because if we see, it ranges from number 2 to 12. They decided to do it by 5s. And in order to people not to get confused, they used a line. So we can see that 4 people got an A, which is more or less a 10. And 12 people got a B, which is more or less a 9 or an, yes, it's a 9 or an 8. And a Z, which is something like a 7, 10 people. And a D, which is basically flunked, it's 2 people. So, as you can see, even if the range of your scale doesn't fit the answers, you can still put the numbers on top of your bars so nobody gets confused. And last but not least, remember that we will see each other in Zoom in a few minutes. So please answer the pages and make sure to check the PDF file that I've sent about this class so you know what you have to do. And that would be all for today. Bye!